Have you ever stood at the edge of a great river and wondered where its waters truly begin? You see the flow, you feel its power, you know its destination, but somewhere far upstream lies the source that gives it life. The same mystery surrounds the question that has haunted human hearts for countless generations. Who am I, truly, beneath all the roles I play and masks I wear? Most people believe they know themselves. They point to their achievements, their failures, their desires, their fears. They say, I am a merchant, or I am a scholar, or I am strong, or I am weak. But Confucius understood something profound that escapes the hurried mind. He knew that what we think we are and who we truly are exist in two different worlds entirely, and until we cross the bridge between these worlds, we remain strangers to our own hearts. The ancient master once said, "At 15, I set my heart on learning. At 30, I stood firm. At 40, I had no more doubts. At 50, I understood the mandate of heaven. At 60, my ear was attuned. At 70, I could follow my heart's desire without transgressing what was right." These were not the words of someone who stumbled upon wisdom by accident. They were the reflections of a man who spent his entire life in the deliberate pursuit of his authentic self. But what does it mean to find your true self according to Confucian wisdom? It is not about discovering some hidden talent or unleashing your deepest passions. It is not about breaking free from all constraints or following every impulse that stirs within you. The path Confucius revealed is far more demanding and infinitely more rewarding. It is about aligning every aspect of your being with the moral order that governs all things under heaven. Your true self is not the person you are when no one is watching. Your true self is the person you become when you are worthy of being watched by heaven itself. It is the version of you that emerges when your actions flow from virtue rather than impulse, when your words carry the weight of sincerity, when your thoughts are guided by wisdom rather than cleverness. The journey begins with a single, uncomfortable recognition. Most of what you believe about yourself is borrowed. Your opinions, your values, your very sense of right and wrong have been shaped by others, by circumstances, by the endless noise of the world around you. You have spent so much time reacting to external forces that you have forgotten how to act from your own center. Confucius taught that this borrowed identity is like a house built on sand. It may stand for a time, but when the storms of life arrive, it crumbles. The man who knows only what others have taught him to think will find himself lost when those teachings conflict. The woman who derives her worth only from external approval will discover emptiness when that approval is withdrawn. But there is another way to live. There is a path that leads not to the shifting sands of popular opinion but to the solid ground of moral character. This path requires something that few are willing to give: the courage to examine yourself with complete honesty. Not the gentle self-reflection that confirms what you already believe, but the rigorous self-examination that reveals what you have been hiding from yourself. The master understood that we cannot find our true selves while we remain comfortable with our false ones. We cannot discover virtue while we cling to vice. We cannot know peace while we justify our inner chaos. The search for authenticity demands that we face the discord within ourselves and choose harmony over convenience. Consider the farmer who plants his field. He does not simply scatter seeds wherever they might fall and hope for the best. He prepares the soil, removes the weeds, ensures proper drainage, and tends to his crops with constant attention. In the same way, finding your true self requires the cultivation of your inner landscape. You must remove the weeds of selfishness, Prepare the soil of your heart for virtue, and tend to your character with the same dedication the farmer shows his harvest. This cultivation begins with understanding the 5 constants that Confucius identified as the foundation of human nature: benevolence, righteousness, propriety, wisdom, and trustworthiness. These are not arbitrary rules imposed from outside. They are the natural expressions of a heart that has found its true center. Benevolence is not mere kindness, though kindness flows from it. It is the recognition that your well-being and the well-being of others are inseparably connected. When you truly understand this connection, cruelty becomes impossible because harming another is harming yourself. Compassion is no longer an effort, but a natural expression of wisdom. Righteousness is not rigid rule following, but the ability to discern right from wrong in every situation and to act according to that discernment regardless of personal cost. It is the quality that allows you to sleep peacefully at night because your conscience is clear. Propriety is not empty ceremony, but the understanding that how we act matters as much as what we do. It recognizes that we live in relationship with others and that our behavior either contributes to harmony or creates discord in the world around us. These virtues are not destinations to reach, but qualities to embody moment by moment, choice by choice, day by day. They are the tools through which you sculpt your true self from the raw material of your natural impulses and learned behaviors. The path forward requires both courage and patience. Courage to see yourself clearly and patience to transform what you discover. In the next part of this journey, we will explore how this transformation actually occurs, how the scattered fragments of your identity can be forged into the unified whole that represents your authentic self. Self. The transformation of the self is not a sudden awakening, but a gradual refinement, like the way a skilled craftsman shapes a piece of jade. The raw stone contains beauty, but only through patient work does its true nature emerge. In the same way, your authentic self exists within you now, but it requires the careful attention of a master artisan to reveal what has always been there. This process begins with what Confucius called the rectification of names. Before you can become who you truly are, you must understand what words like virtue, duty, and character actually mean. Not what society tells you they mean, not what brings applause or profit, but what they mean in the unchanging order of things. When a ruler calls himself just while oppressing his people, he has corrupted the meaning of justice. When a son claims to honor his parents while bringing them shame, he has forgotten what honor means. In the same way, when you call yourself authentic while living according to the expectations of others, you have lost touch with the meaning of authenticity itself. The path forward requires that you reclaim these sacred words and live according to their true definitions, rather than their popular distortions. But here comes the part that tests the sincerity of your commitment. The moment you begin to live according to virtue rather than convenience, the world will resist you. Those who have grown comfortable with your false self will feel threatened by your emerging authenticity. They may mock your efforts at improvement, question your motives, or try to pull you back to who you used to be. This resistance is not accidental. It is the natural response of a disordered world to the presence of order. When you choose righteousness over profit, when you speak truth instead of flattery, when you act with integrity despite personal cost, you become a mirror that reflects the compromises others have made. And mirrors, as you know, are not always welcome. The master taught that in such moments you must remember the difference between popularity and respect. Popularity comes from telling people what they want to hear. Respect comes from embodying what they know to be right. even when they are not ready to embrace it themselves. A true friend will sometimes wound you with honest words rather than destroy you with false praise. This is why the cultivation of character cannot be a secret pursuit. Your true self must be lived openly in relationship with others, tested by the daily challenges of family, community, and duty. It is easy to feel virtuous in isolation. It is much harder to remain virtuous when your patience is tested, when your generosity is taken advantage of, when your kindness is met with cruelty. Yet these very challenges are what forge authentic character. Gold is purified in fire not because the fire is kind, but because only intense heat can separate the precious metal from the dross that surrounds it. In the same way, the difficulties you face are not obstacles to finding your true self, but the very means by which your true self is revealed. Consider how a tree grows strong. It does not become mighty by avoiding the wind, but by learning to bend without breaking, by deepening its roots in response to every storm. The tree that grows in a sheltered valley may appear beautiful, but it will fall when the first real tempest arrives. The tree that weathers countless storms develops the strength to stand through anything. Your character develops in precisely this way. Each time you choose virtue over ease, each time you do what is right despite personal cost, each time you remain true to your principles when others abandon theirs, you are deepening the roots of your authentic self. You are becoming someone who cannot be shaken by external circumstances because your strength comes from within. But strength without wisdom is mere stubbornness, just as wisdom without courage is mere cleverness. The true self that Confucius described possesses both the firmness to stand for what is right and the flexibility to adapt to changing circumstances without compromising core principles. This balance between strength and adaptability is perhaps the most difficult aspect of authentic living to master. It requires that you learn to distinguish between the essential and the accidental, between what must never change and what should change as situations demand. Your commitment to honesty, for example, is essential and unchanging, but the way you express that honesty may vary depending on whether you are speaking to a child, a friend, or a superior. The virtue remains constant while its expression adapts to serve the greater good. This wisdom comes not from books or teachings alone, but from the accumulated experience of countless small choices made in accordance with virtue. Each right action builds upon the last, creating a foundation of character that becomes increasingly solid with time. Eventually, virtue becomes second nature, not because it is easy, but because it has become who you are. The man who has found his true self no longer struggles between right and wrong. He simply acts according to his nature, which has been cultivated to align with the moral order of the universe. His actions flow like water finding its natural course, effortlessly following the path of greatest harmony. This is the promise that awaits those who commit themselves fully to the path of authentic living. Not a life free from difficulty, but a life where difficulty serves a purpose. Not a life without conflict, but a life where conflict becomes the means of growth. Not a life of ease, but a life of meaning. And so we return to where we began, standing at the edge of that great river, but now with different eyes. The source you have been seeking was never hidden in some distant mountain. It flows within you at this very moment, waiting only for the obstacles to be cleared, for the channels to be straightened, for the waters to run pure and true. The path, Confucius revealed, is not a mystery reserved for scholars or sages. It is the birthright of every human heart that chooses virtue over convenience, harmony over chaos, service over selfishness. Your true self is not something you must discover, but something you must become through the patient cultivation of character, day by day, choice by choice. Remember this: the Master himself took 70 years to reach the point where he could follow his heart's desire without transgressing what was right. He did not expect perfection from himself, and you should not expect it from yourself. What he expected was sincere effort, constant learning, and the courage to begin again each morning with renewed commitment to the way. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, but perhaps more importantly, it continues with the second step and the third, and all the steps that follow. Your true self awaits not at the end of this path, but in the walking itself. In each moment, you choose to align your actions with the eternal virtues that make us truly human. Begin today. Begin now. Begin again. The river of your authentic life is ready to flow, and all of heaven is watching to see what kind of person you will choose to become.